whether they were handed another opportunity to sport some gold after a soul-crushing battering, or just presented like the icon they truly were after years in the wilderness. These are those WWE pushes that may as well have come with the word sorry slapped all over them. Gareth here from What Culture Wrestling, and here are 10 WWE pushes that were blatant apologies. Number 10, Bret Hart is rewarded with the WWF Championship after the Hogan debacle. WrestleMania 10. After growing into the sort of babyface fighting world champion fans could truly get behind in the lead up to the 1993 Show of Shows, Bret Hart was shockingly bested by Yokozuna in the main event of WrestleMania 9, only for a recently returning Hulk Hogan to suddenly pop up to check on a screwed Hitman. He'd then go on to somehow win the WWF Championship and help forge arguably the worst Mania ending in the event's history. Well done all. So clearly sensing he needed to make it up to his audience, and Bret for that matter, after that absolute debacle in Caesar's Palace, Vince McMahon set about rehabilitating his Hitman heading into the following year's 10th Showcase of the Immortals. Sure enough, by the time WrestleMania 10 came around, not only had Hart come away with a Royal Rumble victory alongside Lex Luger, but he'd also been gifted the chance to showcase his brother Owen's brilliance too, with the pair feuding in the lead up to the pay-per-view and putting on an absolute classic inside of Madison Square Garden. McMahon wasn't done there, however. By the time the dust had settled on the main event, Bret was once again at the top of the mountain after pulling double duty, redeeming that foolish bit of business a year earlier by besting Yokozuna as the ring filled with his proud peers. You'll love to see it. Number 9, WWE let Cody Rhodes finally be himself after once denying the death of Stardust. WrestleMania 38. After pleading to return as his Cody Rhodes self towards the back end of his initial run in the sports entertainment sphere, and ultimately being forced to continue on in the suit and face paint, the American Nightmare eventually opted to bet on himself and give the independent scene a try. He didn't do too badly in the years that followed, lighting up various promotions all over the world en route to helping bring the All Elite competition into being. So when the seemingly unthinkable became a reality in January 2022, that being Rhodes kissing bye to his AEW bebe, the concept of bringing in the former EVP was simply too tantalizing to resist for Vince McMahon and the gang. Simply offering Cody a lucrative WWE deal likely wasn't enough to guarantee the in-demand star's signature though, and the former TNT champion's request to ignore everything to do with his former alter ego seemingly being accepted, along with being presented as the bona fide main eventer Cody knew he always had the potential to be, both tell a story of a promotion clearly attempting to make up for that ill-advised and hugely impactful pitch denial all those years ago. Number 8, Finn Balor goes back to his black and gold roots, NXT 2019. This was the same bloke who'd helped put the black and gold brand on the map as NXT champion, dammit, and his calling up to the big time acted as the first real flicker of hope towards a bright wrestling-focused future on the likes of Raw and SmackDown in 2016. But in the wake of an unfortunate pectoral injury cutting down his run as the first ever Universal Champion before it even started, the star possessing a demon within never really got going again, largely due to the fact Vince McMahon had clearly lost faith in the Fighting Irishman. However, Papa H still saw something in his former developmental champion, and after being brutally battered on his way out of the main roster door at SummerSlam 2019, the Prince was welcomed back to his former black and gold home with open arms. Before long, the game had even strapped up his returning NXT legend, a move that unquestionably felt like the cerebral assassin's way of telling Finn, "I'm so sorry for my father-in-law, I swear he's usually cool with the spooky nonsense." Number 7, Bret Hart is given one last heroic run after Montreal, WrestleMania 26. With the Hitman not standing in the middle of a WWE ring since getting screwed on his way out of the company at Survivor Series 1997, the sight of Bret Hart suddenly popping back up in the promotion in 2009 made for one of the most unexpected developments of the decade. And with Vince McMahon and Bret seemingly getting over those controversial events in Montreal, and Hart also legitimately burying the hatchet with longtime rival Shawn Michaels early into that comeback, the stage was dramatically set for a McMahon-Hitman blood feud heading into WrestleMania 26. Said eventual grudge match pretty much saw Bret beating the piss out of the one-time WWE chairman as he was rewarded the closest thing to revenge he could get 13 years on from Vince's screwjob. But not stopping there, the Hitman Apology Comeback Tour also saw the Canadian icon join Team WWE at SummerSlam and even pick up a United States Championship win down the road too, because he bloody deserved it. Number 6, CM Punk gets the dead man push after missing out on another main event, WrestleMania 29. While there's no questioning the fact that CM Punk was extremely driven to put on one hell of a show opposite the Phenom coming into WrestleMania 29, to say that the best in the world was entirely satisfied with this particular push is far from the truth. In reality, Punk had been nudged into this significant spot in a bid to pacify the frustrated star after he'd once again been overlooked for a main event spot at the Show of Shows, despite Vince claiming he owed him one after doing the WWE Championship Championship job for The Rock at the 2013 Royal Rumble. And though the two in-ring icons would ultimately put on the match of the night, and about that Punk would later class as the real main event of that show, it was clear that the former WWE Champion was still not fully content after the promotion's attempts to keep him happy post-Mania 29 night closer knockback. Fast forward a year and McMahon's efforts to once again push Punk into another supposed main event spot, this time opposite his son-in-law, ultimately proved to be the straw that broke this exhausted wrestler's back, with the Chip Magnet's latest failed bid to go on last paving the way for his eventual exit in 2014. Number 5, Austin Theory gets a US title replacement after a burial of a cash-in. Survivor Series War Games. Most were understandably quick to read into the latest failed WWE Money in the Bank cash-in as the clearest sign yet that Austin Theory most certainly was not one of Triple H's darlings. The fact that the youngest briefcase holder in the company's history not only chose to target Seth Rollins' United States Championship in his limp bid to make unwanted history, but also came up shockingly short on the night of November 7th, left many wondering how Theory could possibly recover from such a brutal burial. Well, in the weeks that would follow, Theory would actually begin to show a bit more attitude, and found himself being presented as a little more of a threat after months of being made an example out of by Papa H on the main roster. By the end of November, he may not have been boasting his World Championship title shot briefcase anymore, but in what felt like a pretty clear apology for being utterly embarrassed on Raw, the prodigy was soon walking around as the new United States Champion after somehow getting the better of Rollins and Bobby Lashley at Survivor Series War Games. As far as consolation pushes go, picking up the newly rehabilitated strap against two of the most protected full-timers on the roster certainly isn't to be sniffed at. Number 4, Mickie James gets a knockout pop after bin bag controversy. Royal Rumble 2022. In the wake of being suddenly released by WWE back in April 2021, Mickie James revealing that she'd had her belongings sent back to her in a trash bag quickly earned the sports entertainment organization some rather unwanted headlines. Soon after this controversial development had been brought into the spotlight, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon would reveal that the person responsible had been fired, and quite rightly. And with Vince McMahon also being said to have phoned the No Doubt Hall of Famer and apologized for the humiliating package, it's likely the company wanted to make up for the two parties' relationship ending on such a sour note by the time this year's Royal Rumble came around. So when the opportunity to pop up in the women's iteration of the titular over-the-top rope bout landed on James' doorstep, the then reigning Impact Knockouts champion jumped at the chance, claiming it was both a way to represent Impact on a huge stage and step away from the negativity that had overshadowed some of her work with WWE. It may not have been an extended push by any means, but nudging the Impact title holder down the ramp inside of the Dome felt like a fairly monumental show of respect from the sports entertainment giant all the same. Number 3, Kofi Kingston gets a tag strap after being bullied by Brock, SmackDown 2019. Kofi Mania was one hell of a time to be alive, you'll no doubt agree. And while the WWE Championship run that would follow didn't quite take off in the way many had been hoping, most still felt that Kofi Kingston deserved an awful lot more than what went down on the night of October 2nd, 2019. Getting absolutely bulldozed by Brock Lesnar in just 8 seconds, the New Day man was also understandably disheartened about the nature of his eventual WWE Championship defeat. But in what eventually came across like a big ol' apologies for feeding you to the Conqueror just over a month later, Kingston suddenly found himself draped in gold once again, this time alongside Big E as the New Day stars bested the Revival for the SmackDown Tag Team Championship belts. Now sure, the fact the company all but forgot about Kingston as a singles main eventer soon after was a source of frustration for many, and it still is a little bit. However, the charismatic forces of positivity keeping hold of the titles for a few months definitely still acted as the closest thing to an on-air apology to the former WWE Champion and fans for Vince foolishly trying to make Brock vs Velasquez 2 a thing. Number 2, Daniel Bryan gets a monster push after the Orton Batista backlash, WrestleMania 30. The second it became clear that Daniel Bryan wouldn't actually be pulling double duty on the night of the 2014 Royal Rumble, WWE likely sensed they'd made an almighty mistake. The cries of Daniel Bryan and boos that rained down onto eventual Rumble winner Batista made it perfectly clear that anything but a Daniel Bryan babyface run at the undisputed WWE Championship could result in an all-out riot/walkout on the night of the 30th show of shows. With that in mind, WWE quickly set about changing the original plan, placing many an obstacle in front of the plucky GOAT en route to the mother of all WrestleMania miracles in New Orleans. In fairness to the typically stubborn minds behind WWE's creative, at least Vince and co had the sense to realise their fans deserved an apology of sorts for trying to shove a returning animal down their throats. And turning Daniel Bryan into an evolution-conquering monster on the night of Mania 30 was about as sweet a sorry as they could have conjured up. Number 1, everyone the game brought back to the party in 2022. It's hard to frame the way the likes of Karrion Kross and Scarlett, Hit Row, Mia Yim, and many more have been booked since returning as anything other than a blatant Triple H apology for how the talented folks were treated in the time before their various sudden releases. And while not every comeback star has found themselves catapulted into main event storylines out of the gates, it's fair to say that the vast majority have been treated with a great deal more respect and given the opportunity to showcase what they can truly do now that Triple H is at the creative wheel. The fact many of these returning stars have also been allowed to pretty much no-sell most of the baffling booking decisions they found themselves at the center of under Vince McMahon's stewardship also speaks volumes too. Looking at you, Spartacus Cross. Trips clearly wants to make amends for the mistakes of his father-in-law, and rehabbing many of those fumbled and damaged during the latter stages of Vince's reign appears to be a clear priority for the new regime. You know, until Vince comes back and burns everything back down. Woohoo! And that's our list. Know of any other WWE pushes that were blatant apologies? Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right this second is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you as always for clicking on this lovely video today. Hopefully I'll see your faces very, very soon, but hey, in the meantime, don't forget, you all right. Bye-bye.